flutter near the willow shade, echoes of the paths they've made, colors blend like drops of rain, nature's ardent sweet refrain. Little wings of wonder fly, tracing stories in the sky, high above where dreams are spun. Little wings chase the sun. Here by and down.
All right, let's dive into something truly wild today. Imagine a creature so tiny you could, I don't know, balance it on your fingertip. A living jewel weighs less than a nickel.
Just minuscule.
Yeah. Now, picture that same tiny thing embarking on this journey, so immense, so challenging, it almost defies our understanding of physics, really. We're talking about North America's smallest travelers,
Yeah.
the hummingbirds, and their incredible twice-yearly odyssey. Thousands of miles.
It's epic.
It really is. So today we're taking a deep dive into the extraordinary phenomenon of hummingbird migration. I mean, it's an achievement that truly stretches the imagination. These tiny birds, smaller than a lot of insects,
Right.
they traverse distances that would break most larger creatures. It's not just remarkable, it's one of nature's most astonishing feats.
It is hard to even wrap your head around the scale of it, isn't it?
Totally.
If we were to take, say, a ruby-throated hummingbird's nonstop flight across the Gulf of Mexico and scale it up to human proportions, it'd be like you swimming nonstop across the entire Atlantic Ocean.
No way. The whole Atlantic?
The whole thing. And they do this incredible feat, not just once, but twice, every single year. Driven by what amounts to ancient inherent programming. It's just built into them.
So what does this all mean for us then? Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the incredible physiology that makes this possible, right?
Yeah.
The precise timing that guides them, and these enduring navigation mysteries behind the journeys.
Still lots we don't fully understand there.
And we're drawing on the very latest research, the newest observations, particularly from what we're calling the landmark 2025 migration season. Apparently, this was a period where new technologies sort of converge to give us this unprecedented, almost real-time look into their movements.
That's right. The insights we're sharing today are primarily pulled from a comprehensive new analysis based heavily on that season's data. It gives us an unparalleled look into this natural wonder.
That human-scale equivalent you mentioned, swim in the Atlantic,
Yeah.
performed twice a year by birds you could hold on your fingertip.
Yeah.
It really forces you to look deeper into their biology. It's truly astonishing.
It absolutely is. And what's truly revolutionized our understanding in just the last, few years are breakthroughs like miniaturized GPS transmitters.
All right. Tiny tech.
So tiny now, they can be attached to a hummingbird without really hindering its flight much at all.
Incredible.
Add to that extensive radar studies and, the tireless efforts of thousands of dedicated citizen science volunteers.
Getting crucial.
Hugely. The 2025 migration season in particular provided just an explosion of rich, detailed data, painting an increasingly precise picture of these movements.
It makes you wonder, how do they even do it? Like, what kind of physiological transformations do they go through before they even think about taking off?
Oh, it's quite dramatic. In the weeks leading up to migration, a hummingbird's normal body weight, maybe 3 to 4 grams, it can nearly double.
Double. Wow.
Yeah, but this isn't just random weight gain. It's a very precise accumulation of fat reserves.
The fuel.
Exactly. That's their hyper-efficient fuel for these epic flights. For instance, those ruby-throated hummingbirds preparing for that massive trans-Gulf crossing, they typically increase their body weight by 40 to 50%.
40 to 50%. Just fat.
Just fat. While those on shorter overland journeys might gain a bit less, maybe around 25 to 30%, this fat loading system is one of nature's most incredibly efficient methods for energy storage. Seriously efficient.
Okay, and once they're actually in the air, what does that look like? I mean, what are their physical limits? What boundaries are they pushing?
The metabolic demands are, well, extreme. Think about the efficiency needed. Most warm-blooded vertebrates would just burn out.
Right.
During active migration, their heart rate can soar past 1,200 beats per minute.
1,200, that's unbelievable.
And their wings beat at an astonishing frequency of 50 to 80 times every single second. Per second. Their respiratory system processes oxygen at rates that would simply overwhelm most other animals, and their cardiovascular system delivers nutrients and removes waste with extraordinary, almost unbelievable efficiency. It's like a biological turbo engine operating at rates that would kill other animals their size.
I can barely imagine that kind of output. And then there's temperature, right? Flying at altitude must be cold.
It's definitely cold up there.
But then they're generating all that heat from just flapping like mad.
Yeah.
How do they manage that balance?
It's a huge challenge, requires really intricate biological solutions. They've evolved sophisticated thermoregulatory mechanisms.
Okay.
These allow them to maintain an optimal body temperature across a wide range of conditions, from the chill of a Canadian spring morning to the intense heat of a Texas summer. They have to dump heat from that incredibly active metabolism while somehow simultaneously conserving heat in colder air. It's a constant balancing act.
Okay, so we've explored this amazing engine inside these tiny birds, but what does that engine power? Let's trace the journey now, maybe starting with that northward push in spring. It seems like that's urgent. When does it generally kick off?
Spring migration actually begins quite early, surprisingly so, late January, early February sometimes.
That early? Wow.
Yeah, down in the tropical wintering grounds in Central America and Mexico. And what's important to note is that unlike the fall migration, which can be more spread out,
Right.
spring migration is a compressed, urgent window. It's driven by that biological imperative.
Yeah.
Get north, establish territories, and start breeding as quickly as possible.
Makes sense. And who are the first ones to arrive? Who makes up that vanguard along the Gulf Coast?
Good question. The first wave of northbound migrants usually hits the Gulf Coast in late February, maybe early March. Texas and Louisiana are primary landfall spots for birds crossing the Gulf,
Right.
though many also take overland routes through Mexico too. And these early arrivals, predominantly adult males, their priority is staking out the best available territories before the females and younger males arrive. Competition is fierce.
So that timing must be pretty consistent then, almost like clockwork.
It's remarkably consistent, actually, when you look at decades of observation data, despite year-to-year variations in weather patterns. This consistency suggests that the departure timing from wintering grounds is controlled more by internal biological clocks, circadian rhythms and such,
Okay.
more than just immediate environmental cues, though they certainly adjust their routes and flight timing based on the actual weather they encounter. They're not flying into hurricanes.
Right. Smart. And what did the 2025 data show us? Any surprises about this early timing?
Yeah, that's where the 2025 tracking data was really illuminating. It revealed that some ruby-throated hummingbirds began their trans-Gulf crossing as early as mid-February.
Mid-February.
Wow! And they were specifically timing their departure to take advantage of favorable weather systems, like certain wind patterns, to minimize energy use. Smart flying.
Definitely.
These birds often stage for several days along the northern Yucatan Peninsula, just bulking up on fat reserves and waiting for those optimal conditions.
Okay, so they make landfall, then what? It sounds like a continental progression from there. What does that pattern look like as they spread north?
Yeah, it's often described as a slow-moving green wave.
A green wave, I like that.
Yeah, because it's precisely synchronized with spring's awakening, the blooming of flowers and the emergence of insects, their vital food sources.
Gotcha.
The progression paints a fascinating picture across the continent. For instance, birds might peak along the Gulf Coast in mid-March,
Right.
but they're not seen in southern Canada until late April or maybe early May. So you get this dynamic wave moving north as spring advances.
And you mentioned earlier that some late-arriving birds, maybe up north, have actually already finished breeding further south. That shows some real flexibility, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It really demonstrates the remarkable flexibility in hummingbird life history strategies. They adapt to different environments and resource availabilities really well. And while that trans-Gulf migration gets a lot of the headlines, Western species follow equally remarkable routes.
Right. Different terrain out there.
Exactly. Uniquely adapted to mountainous terrain and more scattered water sources. Their spring migration often follows river valleys and mountain corridors that provide reliable food sources and, favorable microclimates as they climb in elevation.
Speaking of western routes, I heard the rufous hummingbirds have a particularly standout journey.
They absolutely do. It's fascinating how their route adapts to that rugged western landscape. Rufous hummingbirds actually kick off their northward journey incredibly early, sometimes January or February.
Oh, even earlier.
Yeah, initially following the Pacific coast before dispersing into interior breeding areas. Their route strategically uses early blooming coastal plants and vegetation along rivers. By March, the first rufous reach Oregon and Washington, with the vanguard pushing into British Columbia and even Alaska by April. They cover a lot of ground.
Incredible. Now, Anna's hummingbirds are a bit different, aren't they?
Hmm.
A lot of them stay put.
Yes, exactly. Many Anna's populations are non-migratory residents. They might even start breeding activities while other species are still down in their tropical wintering grounds.
Huh.
However, some northern populations do migrate seasonally. Their movements seem closely tied to the availability of nectar sources and the timing of territorial establishment in their specific areas.
Okay. And what about black-chinned hummingbirds? What's their pattern?
They follow a more dispersed pattern, generally moving north through multiple corridors from Mexico up into the southwestern United States. Their migration timing varies quite a bit with elevation and latitude. Desert populations arrive earlier than the mountain breeding birds. Now, shifting gears a bit, fall migration presents a fundamentally different challenge than the spring one.
How so?
Well, while spring migrants are driven by that urgent need to establish territories and breed,
Right, the rush.
fall migrants generally have the luxury of more time. But they face this unique challenge of preparing inexperienced young birds for their very first long-distance journey.
Ah, the rookies. So the timeline is more extended in the fall. When do they start heading south?
Yes, it starts remarkably early. Some adult males might depart breeding territories as early as late June.
Late June already.
Yeah. These are typically birds that maybe failed in their breeding attempts or perhaps completed successful nests really early in the season.
I see.
The extended timing of fall migration peaking from mid-August through September, but really continuing into October, sometimes even November, reflects the variable breeding success and molt schedules of different individuals.
Makes sense.
And this extended timeline offers key advantages. It allows birds to utilize late-season flower blooms, insect hatches.
More food opportunities.
Exactly. And it also helps them avoid the really harsh weather that characterizes winter across much of North America.
But the real challenge here, like you said, is the inexperience of the young birds. They're making this journey for the first time with zero guidance from adults. Really.
That's precisely it. Imagine being, a human infant, dropped off hundreds of miles from home and told to find your way back to a place you've never even seen.
Yeah, that's staggering.
That's the scale of this feat for a young hummingbird. These birds, hatched just months earlier, must navigate thousands of miles using only genetic programming and their own developing skills. The mortality rate among first-year migrants is, substantial.
I bet.
Yet enough succeed to maintain stable populations, which is also amazing.
It really is incredible.
Yeah.
How do they navigate then if they don't have an adult showing them the way? What kind of internal map are they carrying? Is it all instinct?
Well, recent research has revealed surprisingly sophisticated navigation capabilities in young hummingbirds that we didn't really know about before.
What?
Things like magnetic compass orientation, stellar navigation using the stars, and landscape recognition all seem to play roles in guiding these inexperienced travelers to wintering grounds they have never seen.
So multiple systems working together.
Seems like it. They appear to be born with an inherent sense of direction, maybe which way is south, which is then refined by their first real-world experience, learning landmarks, things like that. And if we look at some regional patterns for this fall migration, the Great Lakes region, for example, typically sees peak activity from late August through mid-September.
Okay.
During this period, ruby-throated hummingbirds concentrate along shorelines and in areas with abundant late-season flowers, really diligently building up those fat reserves for the next leg of their journey.
Makes sense. Refueling stops.
Exactly. Similarly, the Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley serve as major migration corridors. Peak activity there occurs from early September through early October. These regions provide crucial stopover habitat, often with native plants blooming specifically during these peak migration times.
Nature's timing.
Right. And for the Gulf Coast, it's a really extended fall migration period. You get early arrivals in August, but continued passage right through October. Many birds stage for extended periods along the coast, taking advantage of abundant food resources to maximize their fat reserves before attempting that big trans-Gulf crossing.
Got to bulk up for the big flight.
Absolutely critical. And, some of these hummingbird migrations truly rank among the most extreme journeys in the entire animal kingdom.
Like which ones?
Take the rufous hummingbird again. Its round-trip migration from Alaska all the way down to Mexico covers nearly 8,000 miles.
8,000 miles for that tiny bird.
8,000. That's longer than many songbird species twice their size fly. When you scale it to body size, this journey represents one of the longest migrations of any vertebrate on Earth. It's just proportionally massive.
That's mind-blowing. And that ruby-throated trans-Gulf crossing, which we keep coming back to, it's just astounding because it's nonstop, right?
Exactly. 500 to 600 miles of open water, nonstop, no opportunity to rest, no chance to refuel.
Just water below.
Just water. And weather conditions can extend this journey considerably. Some birds are likely flying for 18 to 20 hours continuously.
20 hours straight.
The physiological demands of such sustained flight really push the theoretical limits of what a warm-blooded vertebrate can accomplish. Most animals simply couldn't survive that level of continuous exertion.
Just incredible endurance.
And then you've got the high-altitude migrations out west.
Oh, yeah, the mountains.
Some western hummingbirds regularly cross mountain passes above 10,000 feet elevation.
10,000 feet.
Yeah, where oxygen levels are substantially reduced and temperatures can drop below freezing, even in the middle of summer. Broad-tailed hummingbirds breeding in the Colorado Rockies, for instance, they have to navigate some of the most challenging terrain in North America. It's a whole different set of environmental pressures they have to deal with.
It really makes you wonder how we know all this stuff, especially the really intricate details. What are the technological advances that are truly revolutionizing the research here?
Well, that groundbreaking 2025 migration season, for example, benefited hugely from unprecedented technological leaps. Miniaturized GPS transmitters.
Well, the tiny trackers?
Weighing less than 0.6 grams now. They're small enough to track individual birds throughout their entire migration cycles. That gives us clarity we just never had before.
Following a single bird for thousands of miles.
Exactly. And radar ornithology has revealed previously unknown aspects, too. Things like precise flight altitudes, speeds, how they respond to weather systems, Doppler weather radar, the stuff normally used for predicting storms.
Yeah.
It can actually detect hummingbird migrations over broad areas, gives insights into timing and intensity that would be impossible to gather just from ground-based observations alone.
So you can see the wave on radar.
You can see migration events, yeah. Large-scale movement.
Wow. And how about figuring out where these specific birds came from and where they're ultimately headed? That always seems amazing to me.
Yeah, that's where some cool chemistry comes in. Researchers can now analyze the chemical fingerprints in their feathers. It's a technique called stable isotope analysis.
Stable isotopes, okay.
These chemical signatures are unique to different geographic regions. So it essentially tells them where that bird grew its feathers.
Like a chemical return address.
Pretty much. It reveals connections between breeding and wintering areas we never knew existed. This technique has even uncovered surprising migration patterns, like finding out some eastern breeding birds actually winter much farther west than anyone previously believed.
Huh. Unexpected links.
Exactly. And genetic analysis is also advancing rapidly. It's revealing the evolutionary history of migration routes and the genetic basis of navigation abilities.
The genes for navigation.
Yeah, or at least the genes involved. Comparing migratory and non-migratory populations is providing insights into how these complex behaviors evolve and, importantly, how they might respond to environmental changes down the road.
And speaking of contributions, citizen science and community involvement have been absolutely crucial here, haven't they? You mentioned them earlier.
Oh, massively important. Perhaps no aspect of hummingbird research has benefited more from citizen involvement than migration studies. Thousands of dedicated volunteers across North America contribute migration observations.
Through programs like
Journey North, eBird, and specialized hummingbird monitoring networks. These networks, like the Hummingbird Monitoring Network, coordinate volunteers across the whole continent to track migration timing and abundance. Participants conduct standardized counts at established monitoring sites, providing data that spans multiple decades. That long-term view is critical.
allows you to see the trends.
Exactly. Allows researchers to detect long-term trends in migration timing and abundance that you otherwise miss.
And then there are just regular backyard watchers and the
Yeah.
people who do banding, right?
Absolutely. Migration mapping projects rely heavily on reports from backyard bird watchers who record first arrival dates, peak abundance periods, last departure dates. Simple observations, but powerful when aggregated.
Yeah. crowdsourcing data.
Exactly. These observations create detailed maps of migration progression that are updated in pretty much real time. And banding programs provide crucial data on individual bird movements and survival rates. Volunteer banders capture and band thousands of hummingbirds annually.
Careful work.
Very careful. And subsequent recaptures or recoveries give detailed information about specific migration routes, timing, and even site fidelity, whether they come back to the same places.
Wow.
Even high-quality digital photography projects contribute now. Citizen scientists can document plumage variations, aid in identification efforts. It all adds pieces to the puzzle. Now, one of the most significant and maybe concerning findings from recent migration research relates to the impacts of climate change.
Ah, right. How is that affecting them?
Well, these long-term data sets, spanning several decades, reveal really clear shifts in migration timing that correlate with changing climate patterns.
So spring migration is actually starting earlier in many places. Is that what you're seeing?
Yes, that's a major finding. Spring migration is advancing in many regions. First arrival dates are occurring, on average, 1 to 2 weeks earlier than they did 30 or 40 years ago.
A couple of weeks is significant.
It is. This advancement appears to track changes in spring phenology. Earlier snowmelt, warmer temperatures cause flowers to bloom sooner, so the birds seem to be adjusting.
But it's complex, you said.
It is complex. Responses vary among species and regions, and that complexity creates new challenges.
Like what kind of challenges?
Well, this raises an important question about mismatches. We're increasingly seeing potential mismatches between migration timing and peak flower blooms or insect availability.
The food isn't ready when they arrive.
Yeah. Exactly. If the birds arrive too early, or maybe too late for their primary food sources, it could significantly affect their breeding success and even survival rates. It's called trophic mismatch.
Okay, I see. And are we seeing range shifts as well? Like where they actually live and breed is changing?
Yes, that's happening too. Some species are expanding their breeding ranges northward, moving into new territories they weren't in before. Others seem to be contracting from the southern portions of their historical ranges.
Any specific examples?
Anna's hummingbird is a really dramatic example of range expansion. They now breed regularly in areas far north of where they were historically found, possibly in response to milder winters and new food sources like feeders and exotic plants.
Interesting. So they're adapting, but maybe facing new problems too.
That sums it up well. And despite all these advances in tracking and analysis, many aspects of hummingbird navigation remain genuinely mysterious.
Still some big questions.
Oh, yeah. This raises some fundamental questions. How do these tiny birds maintain such precise bearings during thousand-mile journeys, especially when facing conditions they've never encountered before? How do young birds find wintering grounds they've never visited? That first trip is still baffling.
Yeah. How do they do that?
And how do migrants compensate for wind drift during those long overwater flights, like the Gulf crossing? How do they stay on course?
We do know some of the mechanisms involved, though, right? Even if the whole picture isn't clear yet.
We do. Magnetic compass orientation appears to play a central role. Lab studies show hummingbirds can detect magnetic fields and use them for directional orientation.
Like an internal compass?
Sort of. But magnetic compass systems alone probably can't explain the incredible precision they achieve, suggesting multiple systems work together.
Okay, what else?
Celestial navigation using the sun's position, maybe star patterns at night, likely provides additional guidance, especially over featureless terrain like open water. Polarized light patterns in the sky, which are invisible to us but detectable by many birds, might also provide directional cues.
Things we can't even perceive.
Exactly. And then landmark recognition becomes important, especially as they get closer to their destination or follow familiar routes. Some evidence suggests hummingbirds learn landscape features during their first migration and use this knowledge in subsequent years. So it's a mix of innate ability and learning.
Fascinating mix.
Which brings us to the really crucial aspect of conservation. Understanding these intricate migration patterns and requirements is absolutely essential if we want to conserve hummingbirds globally.
And a big part of that must be the stopover sites, right? Those vital refueling stations along the way.
Absolutely critical. Many species depend heavily on specific stopover sites that provide abundant food and shelter during migration. The loss or degradation of just a few key sites can impact entire populations that rely on them.
The whole chain is affected.
Precisely. Habitat connectivity has also emerged as a critical conservation concept. Migration corridors that provide suitable habitat at regular intervals allow birds to complete their journeys successfully. Conversely, gaps in suitable habitat, maybe due to development or agriculture, can create barriers that prevent successful migration.
So we need connected landscapes.
We do, which raises another important question. How do we protect species that cross so many borders? Canada, US, Mexico, Central America.
Yeah, they don't care about political lines.
Not at all. So international cooperation is truly essential for hummingbird conservation. Many species cross multiple national boundaries during their migrations. Conservation efforts have to consider the full annual cycle, protecting not just breeding and wintering areas, but also the migration routes that connect them. It requires collaboration.
And with climate change factoring in, adaptation becomes key for conservation efforts too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Climate change adaptation will require flexible conservation strategies. We need plans that can accommodate shifting migration timing and potentially changing habitat requirements. Protected areas and conservation programs can't be static. They must be designed to function effectively under changing environmental conditions. That's a big challenge.
Definitely sounds like it. So looking ahead, what does the future hold for migration research? What new wonders might we uncover next?
Well, emerging technologies promise to reveal even more details. Smaller, lighter tracking devices will allow researchers to study species that are currently just too tiny to carry even the smallest transmitters.
Even smaller birds.
Exactly. And improved battery life might eventually enable year-round tracking of complete migration cycles for some individuals, giving us a truly continuous picture of their lives.
Wow, a whole year in the life.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, artificial intelligence and machine learning are starting to play significant roles. By analyzing the absolutely vast data sets generated by modern tracking technologies, citizen science, radar, AI tools can identify subtle patterns in movement data that would be almost impossible for human researchers to detect manually.
Finding hidden connections.
Potentially revealing new insights into navigation mechanisms, habitat requirements, responses to weather, all sorts of things.
And genomic research is also pushing forward, isn't it? Understanding the genetic blueprint.
Yes, genomic research is advancing our understanding of the genetic basis of migration behaviors. Comparing migratory and non-migratory populations, as I mentioned, is helping identify the specific genes that might control migration timing, navigation abilities, and those amazing physiological adaptations for long-distance flight. It's like slowly unlocking the hummingbird's genetic instruction manual for migration. And finally, I think collaborative research networks are expanding globally. That's really important, creating opportunities for comparative studies across different species and regions. International partnerships are particularly crucial for species that migrate across multiple countries, requiring coordinated research efforts to understand their complete life cycles. Science without borders, essentially.
It sounds like an exciting future for understanding these birds. And, for those of us who just get to witness hummingbird migration firsthand, maybe at a feeder or in a park, it really creates these lasting connections, doesn't it, to these remarkable creatures and their epic journeys.
Oh, definitely. And what's fascinating is the sheer scale you can sometimes witness. The concentration of migrants along major flyways during peak migration periods. It offers opportunities to observe dozens, maybe even hundreds, of birds in a single location. It's truly a spectacle.
And there are specific hotspots for this, right? Where the numbers can just be mind-boggling.
Absolutely. Gulf Coast hotspots during fall migration, for example, can host extraordinary concentrations of ruby-throated hummingbirds. Some locations record more than 200 birds simultaneously at a single feeder or a flowering bush.
200 hummingbirds. That must be chaos.
Controlled chaos. It provides incredible insights into the scale of migration and the challenges facing these tiny travelers. And then you have mountain passes in the western U.S. that offer opportunities to witness the migrations of multiple species, simultaneously seeing rufous, calliope, broad-tailed hummingbirds all moving through high-elevation corridors. It provides a perspective on migration that very few people ever get to experience. And, this understanding of migration timing and routes, it truly enhances these viewing opportunities. It deepens our appreciation for the remarkable journeys these little birds undertake. Each migrating hummingbird carries within its tiny body the accumulated wisdom of millions of years of evolution.
Programmed with knowledge needed to navigate across continents with a precision that honestly rivals our most sophisticated human technologies. What an incredible deep dive today into the great migration journey of North American hummingbirds. It really is one of nature's most extraordinary phenomena.
Truly amazing.
We've explored their unbelievable physiology, the challenges they face, and the ongoing scientific quest to understand them better.
And we really hope you listening have gained some new insights into how these jewel-like birds achieve such seemingly impossible feats, and maybe also the critical importance of protecting the landscapes and habitats that make their migrations possible year after year.
Yeah. You know, the fact that these incredibly tiny creatures, often without any adult guidance for their first massive journey, managed to navigate thousands of miles using inherited knowledge and the sensory cues we're still figuring out.
Yeah.
It just raises these profound questions, doesn't it? About the very essence of instinct evolution, the limits of biological programming in an ever-changing world. It leaves you wondering, what more hidden wisdom do you think is encoded in nature's most delicate creatures?